Hello, welcome to the studio on this early, almost spring morning. I think it's spring in a couple of days, which is flipping awesome. The weather's all over the show at the moment. We've had, yesterday was warm. This time last week was thunder, lightning, the worst hail I've ever seen and driven in. I've never actually occurred to me, never driven in hail before. It's bizarre. So anyway, why am I making this video? I'll show you a new piece that I'm working on in a minute. If you bear with me, we'll do a little bit of, we'll just hang on till we look at that because it's pretty cool. But I've decided I'm going to start making more videos to do with my art. I have been making a lot of videos to do with car culture, and I have a YouTube channel that you might like to check out if you like your cars, called Car Stories NZ, which I'll put a link to below in the description. And I've honed my skills with video making in a really good way. So I've set myself up with some decent gear. There, that's my camera, my gimbal, and my lav mics, which I'm talking into. Probably just heard tap tap, shouldn't do that. Oh, you might have just seen a new painting then. And I really enjoy that. I love the culture, I love the design in the automotive world, which for me ties in a big way with just my passion for design and art, really. The two just go hand in hand, and it's kind of a bit of a dying thing in ways that people are trying to keep going. The whole automotive world is a very changing kind of landscape. But anyway, I won't talk too much about that, but the point being is that I'm going to be using this sort of a skill set I've developed doing the car videos in making videos on my art, and maybe some exhibitions and stuff or galleries that I visit. So those will be on this channel, and also little snippets on my Instagram, which is Bryce Brown Art, and Facebook is Bryce Brown Art as well. My website's not very up to date, but that's www.brycebrownart.com if you want to check that out. But yeah, probably most up to date is Instagram, Facebook. So anyway, without further ado, I'll show you what I've been working on. Just bear with me. So this is the new piece, which I am super happy with. It's based on a sketch that I did quite a few years ago of a typical old New Zealand beach house, or batch, as we call them in the North Island, or crib as they call them in the South Island. Batch comes from the word bachelor, which was apparently where the batch name came from, bachelor pad, which is kind of cool. And I found the old drawing that I had done, and I honestly cannot remember where it's taken from, but it is just a typical New Zealand batch, but in this one I've decided to sort of add these rocks, which I used to do a lot in my work years ago, and I really enjoyed painting these, and they've just taken on this really cool freeform and movement. You can see the front rocks are sort of more vertical, and then it sort of leans back, and there's a dip, goes back up again. But that's all, in fact the camera catches that really well, and that's all painted on a two-dimensional surface. Something that you have to kind of remember with two-dimensional painting is that you're trying to create the illusion of three dimensions and depth, which I've done by adding that peninsula in the mid sort of ground there on the horizon. And it just gives you a sort of in-between point with the water disappearing around behind the building, and then you've got the figures doing something, and quite often in my paintings there's figures doing something you're never quite sure what. And I try not to make it too obvious. I leave it open to translation, so they could be pulling in a net, probably the most likely, or they could be doing something else. There most likely will be a tree going in this piece. There wasn't going to be, but I've got this sketch that I've used as a mock-up, and there will be either a cabbage tree or a Nikau palm going in there. Maybe a Nikau palm, because I've never painted one before, so I realised, and they're a cool looking tree because they're more sort of vertical, the foliage, and they've got, well, often I guess depending on the time of the year, but when they flower they get a berry growing at the base of them, and the berry is like a reedy, purpley kind of magenta sort of colour, which would tie in really well with this piece. There'll be bits of grass growing up, and maybe some of those coastal sort of multicoloured flowers peeping through the rocks, just to give it some punch and another element. And then I've yet to decide what the foreground will probably just be. Like a sandy path would make the most sense, and it will probably tie in with the colour of the batch and the colour of the figures. So yeah, that's where that piece is at the moment. I'll show you, if you bear with me. So this is the frame that I make up. You can see the end there, hopefully. It's just 25 by 25 and 60 by 10 mil glued together. So I just use Gorilla Glue, 10-minute Gorilla Glue, and clamp them together. I've got clamps that go, you could just go to Mitre 10, buy clamps, I think they're like $4 each. Buy half a dozen, buy 8, however many you need. Clamp it up, line it up, clamp it together, and then go to Bunnings, get yourself a drop saw and a bench. They're cheap. Save money. Don't buy expensive mouldings, you can make your own. And this time I kind of accidentally bought clears, which is non-finger jointed. Which finger jointed I normally buy because I just paint it white anyway and it's cheaper. But in this case, instead I bought clears, and it's actually really nice, nicely finished. And I don't normally buy it from Bunnings, I normally buy it from a local timber supplier, Jalco, here in Te Puke. But I was just in a hurry really. I just wanted to buy something. The stuff's only 1.8 metres and I just wanted to throw it in my car, come home and make it up. And that was a month ago, so I didn't need to rush anyway, but that's me. And so yeah, just go to Bunnings, get your drop saw, or Zito, I think is a cheap brand. It will keep going. You only use it every now and then. Cheap saw bench, and get yourself set up for making your own frames. Drop a comment below if you want to know more, or send me a message through Instagram. But this is the profile I've come up with anyway, and it just sits really nicely, just sits out from the edge. And it's as good as any moulding that you'll pay an absolute fortune for from framing places. So that's that. So I'll give you a closer look at the way I make the way I have been making the support, which is masonite in this case. Over the years I've always painted on canvas, but I've recently, wouldn't say switched to masonite, but I really enjoy using masonite, so I just make a 25 by 25 frame, mitered corners, and using those same clamps. Or even if you want to sit the frame on the surface first and then drop the masonite sheet on top of it, line it all up, get your Gorilla Glue in there, strong as anything, and just put some weights on top of it, obviously on the face, and then your prep, use gesso, obviously, which is what all artists use. So you just use layers of gesso, which I use on the edges as well. That's why I masked it, because it will keep these nice and clean white. And in this case, I've kept the masking back a little bit. Just let the edge of the paint come around, just rather than have complete plain white, which I need to obviously finish that, which I haven't done. And yeah, so your gesso that you use on the surface, you're just putting layers of that on, as thick or as thin as you want, depending on whether you want texture or not. I like texture, so I just let the brush work come through. And then you sand, you find a not too coarse a sandpaper, and you sand the gesso so that you're ready for painting. And obviously that's the gesso there, and you can see where I've scaled this up just using a 10 by 10 grid, which I've taken the same grid that I've used on top of the drawing that I used. The drawing, I don't even print my drawings out anymore, you know, I used to take a photo, print it out, do a grid on it and all that sort of stuff, but I just use my tablet now and bring the photo up on the tablet, and you can go online and there's plenty of websites where you can make a grid, and then I just hang my tablet on the top of the painting while I'm working, and you've got your gridded drawing, obviously the same grid on your surface that you're working from. I mean, you could freehand it, but if you want to get it exactly how you drew it, which, you know, you spend a little bit of time making your drawing, then yeah, that's the best way to do it, is your grid. Yeah, thanks for watching this, and hopefully you'll keep following my my art channel. I don't even know what it's called actually. Bryce Brown Art, that's what I call everything else. And like I say, if you're into your automotive world, your car culture, Car Stories NZ. So yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned with this one. I've got to go. I'm about to start coughing. I need a coffee. And we'll see you in another video soon. Bye.